So, final presentation, last hurrah. I got my Infinity Mirror all wrapped up. I actually had it done early last week, so I was pretty ahead of schedule as far as I made for my Gantt chart on the last blog post. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it came out pretty well. There's definitely some things I would change, but I'm happy for like a first iteration prototype. I'm pretty happy with it. This is where I started. This is the first sketch I made of my idea. I definitely wanted to do an infinity mirror. I wanted to make that moving plate with the mirror on it to kind of change the dynamic of the lights. I knew I wanted all the lights to be independently controlled, so I can do cool patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, this was like a rough little shape. It's sort of like rectangles. Moved on to the cube later on. And this is where I also kind of decided what I was going to make my box out of. So I had a few different options. I was thinking wood initially, then I decided that I'd make it too clunky, too heavy. Wood's kind of a little bit harder to work with on the sort of fine scale stuff. I then went on to think 3D printing would be an awesome way to do this. It's a very advanced and sort of modern technique to manufacturing, and it's also kind of fits my aesthetic that way. So I think by using that very modern manufacturing, this very modern, sleek looking little black cube, I thought that was very fitting for my aesthetic goal in the end. This was my initial designs that I had for my device to move the mirror in the center. I was thinking about working on pulleys, but my dynamics textbook didn't really help me out very much with pulleys, and it's very complicated, and I ended up just confusing myself and decided that I knew a lot about linkages and thought that would be a lot more fitting. So this is my final CAD drawing, a little cutout side view. I ended up 3D printing everything. So linkages, the mirror plate, the entire casing was all 3D printed. I got my servos, Arduinos from SparkFun. I ran into a couple hiccups there too. I've never worked with Arduinos before myself, never done C coding before, so if I was a little better at it, I think that would have come out a lot cleaner as well, but lessons learned again. Would definitely do it differently next time if I could. But yeah, so the servo's pretty nice. When I turn it on here in a second, you'll see that it does make a little bit of a hum sometimes because it's trying to suck more power than Arduinos can put out, unfortunately, and little ticks like that. But as you can see, the motion there kind of allows the mirror to go up and down. That's about the full range of motion I did. It's pretty much all you need to separate the lights like that a little bit. So this is the lid I made. Those are 2 Arduinos that I placed in there. I ended up having to do 2 Arduinos because I'm not good enough at coding to run 2 different functions at the same time. So the Arduino, one powers the servo, one powers the lights. I was running into issues with the coding in the sense that I couldn't get the servo to run while the lights were also running a function, which I talked to someone else like a week ago, like, oh yeah, you could have just done like 2 different cases or whatever that means. But I'll figure that out for next time if I end up doing this again and try and get it on 1 Arduino, 1 power source, make it nice and simple like that so it doesn't look as cluttered or as messy on the inside there. But yeah, so I had to do like a little bit of guesswork and intuition and get enough power to everything so that it wouldn't freeze the Arduinos and restart all my functions. So a little messy, but that's okay. That was a 3D printing process. I think I spent 24 hours 3D printing total, and that's without my 1 mess up. Actually, I printed about half the full case, took 16 hours, and the filament got stuck and it stopped printing about a little less than 3/4 of the way through, so I came in the next morning to a half-printed figure and I was very upset. But got it done. Pat helped me out a lot. Got to know him pretty well after being in there for so long. This was the first test run I did of my lights, some different patterns I was doing. This is what I spent most of my semester doing actually, was just playing around, teaching myself C and playing around with the lights, which is very fun, honestly. I had a blast with that. All my housemates thought it was really cool. Like, there's a party going on in your room 24/7. It's pretty fun. Yeah, and this is the full 60 LEDs. I ended up cutting it down to about 32, which is useful for me too because that sucks up way less power. Even now, you can kind of tell the lights begin to flicker a little bit when the servo starts going. So definitely if I could have redone it now, I would have made it in a separate power source to power the lights and the servo. And then that would also go to the Arduinos, because they do sell like little power sources. You can have 1 input and it'll output to multiple things. That way you have enough current to power everything you needed to power. So yeah, this is my final design. The aesthetic came out pretty well. I was going to sand down the 3D printed like roughness, but I kind of like it. I think it came out pretty cool. It has a nice little texture to it. It almost has like another dimension to it when you move around a little bit. A few things I kind of wanted to do was like the LED and the light, I wanted to have that be like, you know, pulsing when it was turned off, but again, I struggled with the coding on that and the wiring. I'm mechanical, electrical stuff is just beyond my scope, but I'm learning. A few flaws I'm kind of upset about definitely is the haziness on the glass. I struggled so much to cut the acrylic and keep it clean. The 3D cutters in here are pretty dirty, so when you go in there and you cut something, you have a lot of oils and stuff come up, and I struggled so much to get that cleaned off there. And then instead of buying two-way acrylic, mirror acrylic, I made my own two-way mirror acrylic, which I think was something I probably should have been more patient and ordered something online instead of just going out and buying all my supplies with what Home Depot had. Because they do make acrylic that's already a two-way mirror, but by doing the tint, you get some defects in there. You can see like here, even where I glued the mirror on around the edges, the glue kind of warped the mirror finish a little bit, which actually didn't show up until like 2 days after I glued it on there, so that was a little bit upsetting as well. Like I said, the servo kind of makes a humming noise sometimes when it starts struggling for power, and the mirror movement isn't quite as smooth as I would like. I put some grease in there and everything, and it's still just a little bit clunky. I think if I had like some real drawer tracks with bearings would have been better, but hindsight's 20/20. The final thing that I kind of like realized after about a couple days of looking at it is if I would have made the LEDs recessed a little bit more instead of so far in, I don't think you would see the LEDs as much. Right now they're pretty visible. It's not like super secret of where the LEDs are. You can see the white strip, you can see all the wiring. So I think if I was to recess those a little bit more, it would have come out a little bit cleaner. But beyond that, I'm pretty happy. It is just a prototype, so I can't kick myself too hard. And I'm hoping I can like jam a screwdriver in there and break that mirror out and buy a piece of two-way acrylic at some point and slide that in there. And plus, it's completely sealed now, so I couldn't go in there and clean the fingerprints off if I wanted to, which is also kind of a disappointment. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it overall. Definitely put enough work into it to be proud of it. But yeah, thanks guys.
Nice.
Got any questions for me?
Are you using a motor to move it back and forth?
I am, so I'm using a servo actually. That way I can control the angle of it. I was thinking about using like a stepper motor or something, but I'd be afraid at some point the code would lose track of where it was exactly and it would spin farther than it should or go into the lid or whatever. I'll turn so you guys can see it back there a little more too. But yeah, so the servo I think was the best way to go. It's just that humming noise. It's bothersome.
Would you consider putting, like tapping some of that 3D printing stuff so you could take the mirror on and off? Might make it easier to like maintenance and clean if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, this back panel is removable, but the thing
okay.
is I would have to unsolder the switch to pull the plate out.
Oh, I see.
Because everything's internal, so I can't like pull that switch out and slide the plate out because everything's tolerance really tight in there. There's no way I can squeeze like wires past the inside plate. If I did make like another panel here, then I'd have screws showing on the front, and I really didn't want that.
Yeah.
But
maybe you could. They make these little like connectors, you know, so you can like solder to the connector.
oh, I see. You can like unplug it and plug
Unplug it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah, after all the work I put into it last week, I was just kind of frustrated, and I was like, all right, this is all going to go together. I think I cut 4 different plates of acrylic and tried it 4 different times, and I was just blowing fumes out of my ears, so it's time to move on a little bit.
You say you're unhappy with like the cut quality of the acrylic or the...
Yeah, the cut quality, mostly, this one was kind of frustrating. It had the same settings on, and I got some chips on this side because it didn't cut all the way through, even though it cut all the way through in the previous trials. So that was kind of frustrating. And I was running out of acrylic, and I'm running out of money, and I was like, this is as good as it's gonna get right now.
Did you use the one on the ITL here?
I did.
Yeah, because I heard I was trying to cut something from their project, and they said it was just cutting super poorly because it was, I don't know what the deal was, but someone was telling me that if you put masking tape around like where you're gonna cut, it might help keep it a little bit cleaner.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe try that. I don't know.
Sure.
That's just what I heard. I haven't tried it myself, but
Yeah, I mean, that thing was a mess. Like, after I
It
did
was
my
bad.
first one, like, there was so much oil on it, I went in there with, like, the Windex and cleaned it for, like, 20 minutes, just wiping gunk up over and over again. And this one came out a lot better. Like, I don't really have any of the gunk on there. It's just, like, my fingerprints and a little bit of scratching from trying to clean it and all that, carrying around the acrylic all day and stuff, unfortunately.
Did it come with like a film on it?
It did, but I didn't want to laser cut through the film.
Oh.
I was worried. that was unacceptable or something, so I just took the film off.
Yeah.
Did you to glue it on? Did you use super glue or did you use like a special acrylic
Super glue. I was gonna do like some special adhesive, but
Right.
I just went to Target and got some super glue.
Yeah, because I was reading up on my project too, and it said super glue melts the acrylic.
Oh,
so
really? So that's what it is.
I think that's why you're getting some of those defects.
Yeah.
That you're getting.
So, like I said, I'm hoping I can pull that out of there, like pop it out pretty easy without damaging the 3D printing there, because I did 3D print on this face. That means that this edge underneath here that I have it glued to is a little bit weaker, just because I had support material there and it doesn't print quite as clean. Yeah, but we'll see. Anything else, guys? About the aesthetic? Anything else like that? Thank
So
you.
after your after this project, do you see yourself in product design?
I don't think so. Right now with my internship I got this summer, I'm kind of on a different track a little bit, and so I'm just kind of trying to look to do my senior design, make that sort of like my focus, and do some electives, learn some other stuff on the side. But product design has been something I thought of before. Don't think I want to commit myself to it that much yet.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you, Blake.
Thanks.